Hello, 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 and thank you so much for coming back to my channel. So today I want to talk about how I don't really like isekai anime because I often find them to be lacking in some way, shape, or form. Now I can admit, right, maybe I just haven't found the right one for me. But I have, but we'll get there. And before you get mad, I do have a good explanation for my feelings of why isekai anime often misses me. To start off, right, don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe. But also, isekai anime and novels aren't a new concept for media. Hell, a lot of modern media can be considered isekai, but the simple fact that isekai just means different world isn't new. You come from somewhere else, and you being a fish out of water is legitimately the main selling point of the story. And it can happen in a lot of different ways. You could be sent to a different world, or be reborn into that world, or you can even accidentally no-clip, like, backrooms your way into a different world just by how isekai works. Other precursors to isekai include some English literature stories, actually. You might have even heard of them. Notable isekai novels, even though they're not called isekai in America, are Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, 1865, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, 1889, The Wizard of Oz, 1900, Peter Pan, 1904, The Chronicles of Narnia, all of us know The Chronicles of Narnia, 1950. All of these are isekai stories, and the public at large more or less loves them. I can admit my own bias in this because I'm a huge Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz fan. Peter Pan is a wild ride, but I remember reading it, and Narnia is Fursona Jesus, and everyone has either seen or heard about it. Sorry if Fursona Jesus makes you mad, but that's all I can ever think of. The problem is that isekai has become so popular that Japan had to put a ban on stories for isekai for a bit, because it seems like everyone had an isekai story they wanted to tell. Which, again, it's not a bad thing, but it does show in how some of these isekai anime are just terrible. Before I explain, right, like this is not to say that I have like a hate boner for isekai anime. I just do not go out of my way to consume this media on the regular because I honestly just dislike it. This does not mean I am, like, negative to, right, the people who do like it. It's fine if you like isekai, right? I need to stress that. If isekai is your jam, that's your jam. For me personally, I don't like it because a lot of isekai anime have it where the main protagonist is always such a nice guy, a blank sheet of paper, nothing going on. Like, he has zero fucking personality. And yet somehow, he is not only the hero of this story, he is able to woo what it seems to be a million different women with a million different personalities and a million different hang-ups and all this baggage, to which he has none, and yet all these women seem to fall in love with this man head over heels and are fighting each other for his, like, attention. And homeboy never seems to grow enough of a spine to just pick one woman he likes, or even admit he might be polyamorous. Oh no, he must love all of them, and all of these women are somehow okay with being in a harem when that is not the personality you have told me this woman has. And here's where my interest dies a million different deaths. I do not care that the main protagonist is as interesting as wet paint. Like, I know why he has to be so damn dull. He's a stand-in for the person watching the anime, which is, again, not the main problem, right? My problem is that all these well-rounded female characters who should be, you know, a little weirded out by the protagonist being just this cardboard cutout of the facsimile of a person is their main love interest, but they're not. He's just too bland and too nice and too much of a guy who has nothing going on. Now, if you say, but my boyfriend's like that, you got bigger issues. You got bigger issues. This is not the video where we tackle this. But, and this is the main problem, the guy being so boring that he can still get all these women is the main problem. Let me break it down for you, right? If you just want to write a guy waking up as king to a place who has a harem of wives, I would bitch a whole hell of a lot less, right? Because then I would not be aggravated with it. I would not have such an issue with it. Because if he woke up as king of Haremlandia, I wouldn't bitch. I really wouldn't. But that's not usually what happens. He's usually some random dude who has, nothing, literally, he has nothing going on. And that is not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. It's just, okay. Full disclosure, right? I might be biased, right? I might be biased. And maybe, right? Maybe, it's me, right? I can admit that. Maybe it's me being overly sensitive and all this other jazz and blah, 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 blah. And I can admit that. Because to me, harem anime speaks of larger issues as a whole, which, we ain't got really time to, worry about that, because we just don't. But, again, okay, I have mixed feelings, right? And I can admit that. And I feel like I've just gone on a tangent, so I'll just finish my tangent and then get back to what I was trying to say. If he was, right, king of Haremlandia, I would bitch a lot less if they did that, because I knew what I would have been signing up for when I signed up for this isekai anime. Some guy wakes up, king of a million wives, plus monsters and fighting. No complaints, right? I signed up for this. But there are some isekai anime that just don't do that. It's just some guy who has literally zero skills in anything, and then all of a sudden he gets not only this girl and this girl and this girl and this girl and this older woman and this older woman and this... Dude, we're not even going to touch on the lolicon shit, right? I just can't. That's the main problem. He's got so many options, and all of these wildly different personalities love him. And I know why they love him. He's a blank sheet of paper. They're projecting whatever they want onto him because the reader and watcher is projecting whatever they have onto him. And that's fine. I mean, it's not, right? Because I don't like isekai anime. But, if that's your jam, that's your jam. Okay, my rant is over. And I'm sorry I got a little heated. However, there are some isekai anime that I love. And by that I mean one isekai anime. Exactly one. Campfire cooking in another world with my absurd skill. This poor guy just wants to go home, and instead he is not only stuck with the biggest godlike baby in the world, he also has to deal with the fucking plot. Dun dun dun. So, that's a really narrow way to explain this anime, so let me, try this again. Our main protagonist, Tsuyoshi Mukuda, was just minding his own business while walking home from shopping for food, and he got chosen to come help this magical kingdom via magic. Duh. He and 3 high schoolers are told by the little evil wizards of the coast that the evil demons who are here to do evil demon things will do evil demon things for the evil demon king empire and blah 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 blah. In all honesty, even he zones out while they're explaining it, so you kind of only get this later on when you're watching it, which is funny to me. So the Wizards of the Coast check to see what cool powers that he has. My man has the power to coupon. You laugh, but as an adult, the power of the coupon is a god-tier power, and I will not stand for the slander of the couponer. Because it's the whole thing. So he can't get sent back home because of plot reasons, and also the Wizards of the Coast explain it. He doesn't listen to them. But whatever, they give him money, he fucks off. He just has to live in the new world, and he decides, alright, I'll do that. But not before he finds a very high-level monster known as Fenrir, who demands to be fed because it's been smelling him cooking for the adventurers that he's following around to the next town. So Mukuda, being the most reasonable person alive in an isekai, says, yeah, sure. So he cooks Fenrir his food, and then Fenrir says, cool, I like this, you're gonna be my not really, slave, and you're gonna cook for me, and we'll make, friendships and all that other jazz. Time to become friends forever with a familiar contract that Mukuda says yes to because he almost dies of a heart attack when Fenrir reminds him that Fen can just eat him instead of being familiar and friends forever, and he can cook for him. And you know what? I have never heard of a more picture-perfect reason to say yes to a magical creature that you don't want than I'll eat you if you don't. And the reason I like this anime so much, even though it's an isekai anime, is because Makuta is like a whole person with a life and a personality before he gets kidnapped to Magic Not Japan land. He knows how to cook, he misses home a lot, he's smart enough not to push his luck with the giant wolf god who follows him around for his cooking, but he does snap at him sometimes because you can only tolerate it to a point. And deep down, he's a good person who wants to do good, but also has a healthy dose of wanting to keep himself alive and, nah, I didn't sign up for this. As I said, while I find most isekai bothersome and outright dull, the medium as a whole doesn't suffer from this problem. It's just that most popular isekai anime has this problem. The main problem is that it is so derivative of the story. When your main protagonist is as interesting as a sheet of printer paper with all the backstory of a shoelace, you can make that work, but that means the rest of the story has to pull triple shift to make it work. It's the reason why, like, Twilight didn't work. Bella had no personality, everybody else in the story was interesting as hell until, like, the third book. Literally, they have to pull triple shift to make your whatever work. And the rest of the story could pull triple shift to make a printer paper interesting. And if they did that, I would not be here about to scream about how much the story would improve if we stopped giving this fool any fucking screen time, even though he's the main character. And, like, I get it, right? A blank sheet to project yourself onto so you can feel like you are the story's hero with you getting all the girls, that's fine. If it's a pick-your-own-adventure story, but when it's in an anime form that you have to watch every episode of, and that's not what you really want to see, you tend to fall off quickly. Even if the story premise is interesting. When the person who is not projecting their image onto the protagonist of the story becomes a pick-your-own-adventure that you are watching someone else pick them out as the choices of, like I said forever, isekai is not a new genre that people are just now getting into. Isekai has been a staple of storytelling for a long time. But the protagonist of those older stories came with a fully realized backstory, personality, moral compass, and that is not being tested against the new normal of the new world they get sent to, right? It's literally all of that plus all the new rules that they get told to that is now being tested against their old morality, their codes, their ethics, their personalities, their upbringing, and the new world that they get sent to, which might not be anything like what they came from. Alice had to deal with all of Wonderland. Dorothy had to watch a woman float down in a bubble and kill a different woman with water. Narnia is for Sona Jesus, and every kid is always from England. Wendy goes to Neverland and deals with the boy who won't grow up, but in all of these stories, the protagonist has something going on. This is why so many isekai don't give the protagonist a backstory, because they want you, the viewer, to project hard onto the blank sheet of boring-ass printer paper. Which, again, I can't stress this enough. I know I sound upset. I am upset, because isekai stories should be fun, and often, they're kinda not fun. They're really not. It's the same boring story of this dude, nothing going on, millions of women, some type of whatever happening. And I know someone will think that I am nitpicking on this genre when I'm not. I am airing my beef with this genre and trying to explain why it can be done well if the protagonist had even an inch of a personality. That's all I'm saying. If you're gonna make your character this boring, you can make the story interesting. But you have to be willing to put in the work when you are writing these stories to basically just say, nope, they have to have one defining characteristic. It can be something as boring as cooking. It can be something as boring as knitting. Hell, I'll even take a protagonist whose entire personality revolves around collecting stamps. Just give them something. When their entire personality is, they're nice. Nice is not a personality. Nice isn't even like a more moral standpoint. Nice is something people do by accident 9 times out of 10. That's why isekai anime, for me, often falls flat and it often falls short. Is because we never, ever seem to have protagonists like Makuta in Campfire Cooking in Another World. Homeboy has a personality. Homeboy has likes and dreams and wants. He has to tolerate the world he's in because he can't leave. And the plot is aggravating him because it keeps basically kneecapping him of trying to figure out on how to go home. Because he wouldn't mind so much living here if he didn't have the world's biggest god-tier dog bothering him every moment of every day. Because that is like the main hiccup for him. Plus all of the demon stuff that they talk about. Realistically, right? And I cannot stress this enough. I wouldn't care so much if the protagonist of isekai had even one thing going on. The reason why I like exactly this one isekai anime that I watched on a whim, because that was just like all Crunchyroll had for 1 week, was because I just wanted to tell Crunchyroll, no, I didn't like it. And then this is the only one that outlasted all these other boring ones. Because there is no technical harem anime shit in this. He has a couple of girls that he meets. A couple of them straight up tell him to his face, I don't like you. Others kind of find him charming. There's no lolly shit, and I'm so happy about that. I'm so tired of seeing that in isekai anime. She's like 11, dude. That is an immediate stop, do not pass, go. That's my point. If you're gonna write an isekai story, I beg you, as somebody who's already written a couple of books and one of them is published, it's on Amazon, you can just not do that. Just give enough of a shit to make this person a person, and then I will be interested in it. Now, for the people who like isekai because it's a blank sheet of paper, you have an entire anime genre dedicated to you. This is not the video that is specifically talking to you. That's it. That's all I've got to say. Okay, bye!